yourself adequately every single day. So does anyone know where energy comes from? Yes.
Carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates, yes, absolutely. So that's the main nutrient that we'll look at. Does anyone else have any other ways that you get energy?
Sugar.
Sugar, yep, and sugar is a carb. Who said that? Very good. So you have 3 different nutrients and they all make up energy. So you have protein, carbohydrates and dietary fats. And what you need to think about when it comes to this energy, that this energy is the fuel for your body. Now what happens when you don't have fuel in your car? What happens?
You break down and you can't move.
That's right, you can't go anywhere.
Can't go forward.
You just stop. You might roll, but very slowly if you're on a hill. Now, what happens if you have a high-performing sports car like a Ferrari and you put the cheapest possible fuel in there?
It's not going to run very well.
It's going to wreck the engine, it might not run as well, it might be really sluggish. So think of your body as the same. Number one, if you don't have enough fuel, you're going to find it very hard to perform, you're going to be very slow, low energy. You're not going to break down because you're not a car, but you're not going to feel good. And number two, if you put the wrong fuel in before you head out onto the field, you're not going to feel very good, you're going to be slow, sluggish, and you're not going to perform at your best. So we're going to take a little look at the different nutrients so we can understand what game day nutrition needs to look like. So you've got your complex everyday carbohydrates. So you see over there, so what are these? What do you see?
Bread.
So all the way over this side. So you've got wraps, you've got brown rice, you've got brown or whole wheat bread, you've got wheat bix, so they're wheat bix.
Fruit.
You've got fruit, you've got potatoes, you've got quinoa, veggies, pasta, you've got brown or whole pasta. Now what do you see over on this side?
Sour Patch Kids.
Nutrition.
Lollies, Nutri-Grain, calories,
Sugary.
sugary stuff. So these are your simple carbohydrates.
All of that.
So what do you think the difference is between these two when you eat them in terms of energy? Yes.
So the sugar, like the ones on the right, they like absorb quicker, so like you have more energy for less time.
Yep, absolutely. So you eat these carbohydrates, your body is going to convert that into energy really quickly. So you're going to have that energy to go right away. But with those carbohydrates, they're really good when you go to school and you're in the classroom and you're learning and you need to concentrate and you have that sustained energy. But these carbohydrates also contain dietary fiber. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, and you're going to find out why that might be problematic when you're playing football or when you are in your training. Now we also have dietary fats. So we have what we call healthy fats. Now these are fats that have added health benefits, so they might be good for your heart health, or they might lower blood cholesterol levels, or they might help to regulate inflammation in the body. They also have added micronutrients, so vitamins and minerals. Then you've got your saturated fats, so that's things like chocolates, chips, butter, cupcakes, etc. You've then got protein. Does anyone know what protein is important for? Yes.
Muscles.
Muscle, absolutely. So protein's going to help your muscles recover and repair after you play. So does anyone know what we might be looking at when we go to training or we start a game of football, what we'll be eating leading into that game? Yes.
Banana.
Banana's good, yep. Eggs, a little bit, but what about in terms of energy? What one of those nutrients do you think is most important?
Pasta.
Pasta, so we've got your white pasta, which is a simple carbohydrate, white rice, white bread, lollies, cereal like Nutri-Grain or cornflakes. So that's the right energy before you play. So the reason is because we've got the two different kinds of nutrition. We've got the game day nutrition and then we've got your everyday nutrition. So on game day, we want to focus on fueling up with simple carbohydrates. Now you've already said why. Does anyone remember why?
Because carbohydrates give you energy.
Yep, quick energy.
Slow.
Fast energy. So simple carbohydrates give you fast energy. They're also going to be easier to digest, so they're not going to sit in your stomach and they're not going to make you feel sick. So on game day, we want to ensure that we're having minimal dietary fat and minimal dietary fiber. Now this is because it's going to take your body longer to digest and it's just going to sit a little bit heavy, and it might cause you to either feel like you need to run to the toilet, or you might need to vomit while you're out running, which nobody wants.
Like Wheat Bix.
Wheat bix are a great like breakfast food.
They can't have them.
You can have those. You can have those at breakfast time or in your everyday nutrition. The only time I wouldn't eat them would be about within an hour before going onto the field or going to training. Does that make sense? Beautiful. So with then get your everyday nutrition where you focus on your balanced plates. You want to make sure that you're getting in at least 5.5 serves of veggies a day and 2 servings of fruit. Does anyone do that?
Yep.
Good. Now make sure you keep doing that because that's really important, as those micronutrients are also going to help you perform, just in a bit of a different way. Now you also want to ensure that you're going to get in your 6 to 7 serves of grains, and that's going to help you meet your daily energy needs, and 3.5 servings of calcium because you're all growing. Why do you need calcium? Does anyone know? Yes.
For your bones.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And when you're playing, like, you don't want to fall over and have a higher risk of fracture or injury, so it's really, really important to make sure that you are on top of your calcium. Now, I have a question for you. It's a true or false one. Do you need to eat vegetables before you either play a game or go to training?
False.
Very good. And does anyone remember why? Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to make you feel a bit sick, and it's going to slow down the digestion of the other carbohydrates for energy. So everyday nutrition, we're looking at our balanced plates. Can you all see there what your plate needs to look like?
Yeah.
So you're going to need to have a third of colour, a third of carbs, and a third of protein. And you've also got your hand portioning sizes there too, because you're all different sizes, you're all different weights. So your hands are all going to look a little bit different from each other, right? That means if you use your own hand, so a cupped hand like that to serve your veggies, it's going to be a closer amount to what you need as an individual. Same with your protein, if you use a palm, it's going to be better for you. And then same with your carbohydrates, if you use your fists, that's going to suit you a lot better too. Now I do have some meal examples here for your everyday nutrition, so things like a breakfast burrito, and do you see how it's broken into the veggies, the protein and the carbohydrates? So that's what your plate needs to look like, but of course it's going to be wrapped up into a burrito, but that's how you can kind of portion everything out. You've got a salmon and cottage cheese bagel, but you could also have a ham and cheese bagel, chicken and veggie pizza, wheat bix, overnight wheat bix, and a burrito bowl. Alright? Now it's going to look a little bit different on your game day, and we're going to take a look at that now. So, can you see the difference with this plate? Can anyone point out what the difference is? Yes.
More carbs.
More carbs. Does anyone know why you would need more carbohydrates? Yes.
So you have more energy.
Absolutely. So the more carbohydrates you have, the more energy that you're going to have, so the better that you're going to perform. So 24 hours before your game, we're going to switch up your nutrition strategy a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to start focusing on performance nutrition, which means that you will have a little bit less veggies, you'll have a little bit less dietary fat, and a little bit less fiber. But it's only temporary, and as long as the rest of your week, so the rest of your nutrition has plenty of veggies, whole grains, fiber, good quality fat, you're not going to see any negative health impacts. But what this is going to do is actually going to ensure that you have enough energy to, number one, keep you healthy, but also make sure that you are going to perform your best. So we're going to increase carbohydrates in every meal or snack. We're going to hydrate well with fluids, and we're going to ensure that we're eating salty foods, as that's going to help with hydration. And then dinner the night before, we are going to make sure that we have plenty of carbohydrates. So just to recap, what is the difference between complex and simple carbohydrates? Yes.
Simple carbs are like absorbed quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're your more sugary carbs, and then your complex carbs are your carbs that are going to sustain your energy levels, and they're going to keep you feeling fuller for longer, so perfect on those school days. So this is what it's going to look like when you have your game on the weekend. We're going to use a hypothetical 10 a.m. game, and we're going to start fueling 24 hours before you play. So morning tea the day before, your meals are looking like a Milo bar. Does anyone like those? Beautiful. So you've got your Milo bars, you've got oat bars, you've got Nutrain. Has anyone had a YoPro or a Chobani yogurt before? Beautiful. That's really good. Does anyone know what nutrient is in that yogurt?
Mango slices.
Yes, we've got mango slices there as well, which is very good. We're going to have that on the side. But your yogurt is full of calcium, which is good for your bones, and protein, which is good for your muscles. Beautiful. Now we're going to have lunch. So depending on your size, the little guys at the front, you might only need 1 sandwich. The big guys at the back, you might need 2. So again, you're going to use your own individual hands to determine what you need for your own sandwich. But 1 p.m. lunchtime, we're going to have a sandwich. We're going to have some protein on it. So the bread is carbs, The protein can be eggs, it can be chicken, it can be ham, it can be whatever you like. We're going to have a juice on the side, and that can be orange juice, it can be apple juice, it can be pineapple juice. And then who likes Snickers? Snickers or Mars bars? We can have a Snickers and a Mars bar as well. 3 p.m. we're going to have a smoothie. So you can make a smoothie from carbohydrates. You can pop some oats in there, you can pop some banana in there, so they're both carbs. Peanut butter for some good quality fat. So that's going to actually give you some what we call the healthy fats. So you're going to get some micronutrients from them. You're going to get some protein and calcium from the yogurt, and that's going to be quite energy dense. So it's going to give you a lot of food or a lot of energy, but it's not going to be very filling because you're going to blend it all up in water and you're going to drink it. Then you're going to have dinner. What do you normally eat for dinner before you play?
Spaghetti with bread.
Spaghetti with bread, beautiful pasta. So you're going to keep doing that as well. So you're going to have some spaghetti, you're going to have some bread rolls, some garlic bread, and you're going to have some more juice, because what does the juice contain?
Simple carbs.
Yes.
Simple carbs.
Yeah. Simple carbs or sugar. Yes.
What if you have water?
Water is not going to provide you with carbohydrates.
Because like juice is kind of like morning for me.
Yeah. Well, you could have a cordial. You could make yourself a cordial. But at the end of the day, you want to remember that nutrition for athletes. Remember, we said eat like the elite. Sometimes you have to think outside the box a little bit. So just because you would normally have juice in the morning, this just might be a little bit of a change in your routine or a change in your strategy, and doing things that you might be a little bit uncomfortable with so you can perform your best. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Beautiful. And then we're going to have some dessert. So we're going to have some sorbet. Does everyone like sorbet?
Yes.
Perfect. If you don't like sorbet, do you like ice cream? You can have some ice cream. It won't be as high in carbohydrates, but it will still be good. Alright, so we've got our game day. So what do you normally have for breakfast on game day? Yes.
Eggs and toast.
Eggs on toast is really good because you've got some protein and you have got some carbohydrates. An up and go is good, but we want to add some more with it because it's not a lot. Yes.
Banana.
Banana is good. 2 up and goes is good. I'd still add maybe some jam on toast or some Vegemite on toast. Banana's probably not enough. We probably need to have a little bit more than a banana. So cereal and milk is a great option. Some juice, breakfast time, great option. And then we're going to have some toast with some Vegemite. Now, if you don't like Vegemite, that's okay. You can have something else on there. But the reason we're using the Vegemite in this example is because the Vegemite is high in sodium. So salt, sodium, which is going to help with your hydration, okay? So it's going to help to keep you hydrated because it is an electrolyte. So when you go out onto the field, if it's hot, you're going to start to sweat. Does anyone know what happens when you sweat? What do you lose?
Salt.
Salts, exactly. So we want to keep topping those up. Now, 9 a.m. or within an hour before you hop onto the field, this is when we really want to make sure we have no dietary fat and no dietary fiber. Can anyone remember why? Yeah, it'll slow down your energy, so it'll slow down the digestion of carbohydrates for energy, and it will also make you feel what?
Sluggish.
Sick and sluggish, absolutely. So we're just having some pure carbohydrates here, so you can have something like some pikelets and jams, apricot delights, lollies, you can have crumpets and honey, you can have a jam sandwich with some lollies on the side, and that's going to give you the simple, readily available energy that you need to keep going on the field. Now, half time, we want to rehydrate and we want to refuel with some carbohydrates, so having some lollies and some Gatorade is going to help to top up. What do you lose again when you play? What do you lose when you sweat?
Salt.
So it's going to help to top up electrolytes. And when you're using that energy, so remember you've eaten all of that carbohydrates for energy, but what happens when you use it all? You need to get some more food into you, so you need to top up with carbohydrates. So we're going to have some lollies for that as well. And then post-game, we want to make sure that we are replenishing with protein, fluid, and sodium, because that's going to make sure that you're recovering and getting ready for the next game. So I've got your 4 R's of recovery. So does anyone know about this? Have you heard about this before? So we want to make sure that we repair with what? What repairs muscles? Yeah, protein. We want to refuel carbs, rehydrate, and we're going to revitalize with fats and colours. So after you play, we want to start to introduce fats and colours. So colours is your fruits and veggies, fruits higher in fibre. We're introducing some more whole grains. So you've got your oats, and some peanut butter. So we're starting to get those dietary fats in there as well. So does anyone know why you need to recover after you play?
Build muscle.
Yeah, so you can build muscle, yep.
So I don't get injured.
Yep, so you don't get injured.
Is that banana with yogurt?
That is banana with yogurt, yeah. That's a yogurt bowl. Yogurt, banana, protein, peanut butter, oats, stems. Alright, so the reason why we want to do these 4 hours of recovery is number 1, we want to repair muscle, but we also want to replenish our glycogen. So glycogen is stored energy. And that's going to ensure, number 1, that you do recover as well, because glycogen or carbohydrates and proteins vary. So if you are not eating enough carbohydrates, your body is actually going to convert protein and other non-carbohydrate fuel sources into protein for recovery. So you don't want that to happen, because you do want to be repairing your muscles and you do want to be refueling with carbs. So you have, what is glycogen? What does it give you? So energy. So it gives you energy, so it kind of gives you speed. Who said that? Yeah, kind of. That's not a bad answer. Alright, so this is really, really important. So, after your game, true or false, is it important to recover and repair so you play better next time?
True.
Who said false? Alright, so we're going to chat about water as well, because who can read that? If you have a fluid deficit of just 2% of your body weight, how much is it going to negatively impact your performance? 20%. Is that a pretty big amount?
That's a drastic change.
That is a drastic change. So when you want to win and when you want to do your best, if you have a 20% performance decline, that's going to be pretty problematic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Perfect. So we know that. So a food first approach is recommended. So essentially what that means is salty food and water. Gatorade is technically a sports food or Powerade, so that can be included in your food first approach. But there are some times when you might need to add additional electrolytes. Is anyone in this room under 13? Do we have some 12-year-olds in here? So this won't be applicable to you. You'll have to wait until you're 13, and obviously always talk to mum and dad about this first. But if you do lose over 2% of your body weight when you're 13 years or older, you might need to implement something like a hydrolyte sport, just to make sure that you're replenishing back those electrolytes and rehydrating. If you are under 13, stick with your Gatorades. Make sure that you're having lots of salty foods to prevent dehydration in the first place. So like I said, like ham sandwiches, Vegemite, adding salt to your food on game day. This is only on game day, not everyday life. And also having things like milk, because there is quite a fair bit of sodium in milk, which is why those chocolate milks when you finish are really good as well. Now there is one drink that we want to avoid when we are playing sport, and this is a drink that is usually misunderstood as a rehydration drink, but it actually does the opposite. Does anyone know what it is?
Like water?
Not water, but if you don't have enough sodium with your water, it would do the same thing, but we don't usually mistake water for this. Yeah?
Lucozade.
No, Lucozade is a really good rehydration drink. So it's coconut water. Has anyone ever told you to rehydrate with coconut water because it's high in potassium?
No.
Well, that's not a problem then, but if anyone does ever tell you to rehydrate with coconut water because it's high in electrolytes, you tell them that it's the wrong electrolyte and it won't rehydrate you, okay? And that's when you need to have a sports drink or an oral rehydration solution. Okay, so pop quiz. Does anyone know why we would choose salted pretzels or salt and vinegar rice crackers?
To get the salt out in every sweat.
Yes, absolutely. And it also is going to provide you with carbohydrates. So it's like a 2 birds, 1 stone, right? So here we do have some carbohydrates. You can look at this as a bit of a cheat sheet. You're all going to need different amounts. So you're all going to be quite individualized, but these are kind of good general recommendations. So the little guys at the front, you're probably going to be a little bit more up here. And then the older kids, you're going to start to come a little bit more down here, okay? So these are carbohydrates that you can use at half time. So if you don't like lollies, or maybe that you're not feeling super thirsty, because you also don't want to just chug down water because you or Gatorade, because you just don't want to bowl this amount, and that may make you feel a little bit sick as you start to run. So just sip that slowly as you need to. But if we want to get about 30 grams of carbohydrates, Who likes LCMs? Perfect. So 2 LCMs. If you're a little bit older, maybe go for 3. Has anyone had an energy gel before? Yeah. Do you like those? Some people like them, some people don't. But if you like them, an energy gel is a really good option at half time because it's going to be really quick and easy to eat, and your body's going to use that energy or break down that energy very, very quickly. You've got your juice, so that's again really good for hydration. There is some sodium in your orange juice too, so that's a good option as long as you're not going to feel too sick when you start to run again. We've got some, for the bigger guys, if you need 45 grams of carbohydrates, you've got some dried mango. Who likes dried mango? Perfect. So dried mango is really good. It's a really good amount of carbohydrates. You've got 2 energy gels if you need a little bit more energy, and then you've got some salted pretzels. And then if you need a lot more energy, maybe you're one of the older kids, having some mango and some rice crackers together, 3 energy gels, and some lollies and some apricot delights. Yes.
Just like in between a game, like right before.
So this would be half time, but you could also have that as your your pre-game snack as well. So remember how we talked about the pikelets and the jam and the lollies? What about a drink? So before you start playing or after? Before. So before, you just want to make sure that you are drinking that fluid throughout the day. So remember, we've already got some orange juice at breakfast, so you're going to get a kickstart on your fluid with that. And then you've got your Gatorade during your game as well. But just keep sipping on water throughout the morning. You don't want to spell it because then it is going to sit heavy in your stomach. But just make sure that you are sipping and you are not neglecting your water, because if you go into your game hydrated, then you're not going to have any dehydration and you're not going to see that negative impact on your performance from the 2% of a fluid deficit within the body. Does that make sense? Beautiful. All right. Does anyone have any questions about that? No? All right. So, does anyone remember why foods high in fibre and high in dietary fat will make you feel sick during a game or training? Yes.
It slows down your digestion.
Yeah, it'll slow down your digestion. So what's that going to do is make the food that you've eaten. So let's say you eat something like a big chicken and salad wrap just before you start playing. So that would be a food that would be really good maybe 2 hours before a game. But if you eat it within 30 to 60 minutes of the game, it's still going to be sitting a little bit heavy in your stomach because it's got all of that dietary fibre. So that food might sit there for a little bit longer and it might start to ferment a little bit, and as you start to run around, it's going to make you feel a little bit sick, and it might make you feel like you need to run to the bathroom, which is the last thing that you want to do, because you want to have your full concentration on the game in front of you. And another thing to consider with feeling sick as well, you don't want to try anything new on game day. So has anyone in this room tried any of these nutrition principles before starting a game? You have? What do you normally do before you play? What about you?
I have a banana and the energy gel.
Yep, perfect. So what if you were to have an energy gel at halftime? Have you had that before? Do you normally have anything at halftime?
No, just water.
Just what's
I mean,
that? Like a Gatorade?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So introducing an energy gel at halftime, it might be a little bit new and your stomach might not like it as much. Yes.
Salt tablets.
Salt tablets I would recommend to avoid. So they're not a great source of rehydration just because of the way
So like
that
at half time.
formulated. At halftime, go for a Gatorade. Yeah. Yeah, so with that, that's a very good question. So we want to trial and test these foods. So let's say, for example, you've never had an energy gel at halftime before. What I want you to start doing is practicing that at training. So let's say you're going to play on the weekend and you want to start to implement some of these nutrition strategies. You need to make sure when you go to training this week, you take an energy gel with you so you can trial it halfway through that training. And then you can say, oh, okay, that sits pretty well in my stomach. That's going to be safe on game day. Now, let's say you do start to feel a little bit sick. Okay, I feel a little bit sick. I'm going to need to build tolerance to this. So that's a really important thing to take into consideration as well. Your gut or your digestive system is extremely adaptable. So you can train it to tolerate a lot of carbohydrates for physical activity, but it'll just take a couple of weeks to do so. So you just need to be really meticulous with making sure that you're taking that food to training and you're trialing and testing it. I mean, yes, it might not feel great if you're a little bit sick at training, but at least you're not going to be sick on game day, right? So if you start feeling sick, that's okay. Go back next training session, have it again. Your body will get used to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions about that? Pardon? Yeah, what's your question?
Can I have watermelon for like my drink as well?
Watermelon's really good post, so when you finish, that's a really great way to rehydrate because you're going to get lots of water in there. Or even if you have some watermelon like 1 to 2 hours before you start playing, I just wouldn't have it within that 1 hour window.
Okay.
Yes.
Why aren't they good? Like salt tablets?
Salt tablets are good because it's going to take your body a little bit of time to actually break down. So when you think of a tablet, it's like in a tablet form. So it's going to take at least 60 minutes for your body to break that down.
Like before a game.
Yeah, so when you have a salt tablet, it's going to take your body a period of time. So it's not an instant thing, right? But if you have some hydrolyte or if you have a sports drink, those electrolytes are going to get into your system straight away. Okay, yes.
Orange juice is good to have. Yeah.
Orange juice is good. You can trial that pre-game or trial time. Yep. If you have it straight on and you start running straight away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like how much you Yeah. Maybe just have like a little glass. And just sip on it slowly. Have some olive or
No,
something.
like you chew it, not swallow it.
If it's a chewable tablet, if it's a chewable tablet, it might be okay.
Yeah.
That's something that I'll have to look into. I've never seen it. So do you think it's chewable tablets or
Wait, it's different.
Boys, quiet.
A different type, so like have like a purple Powerade and then like a blue Powerade in the same game,
Yep, that's absolutely fine. But
or
just,
like a Staminade and a Powerade.
yep, that is fine as well. But just remember with your liquid, you just want to make sure you're not having too much liquid. Alright, because too much liquid might make you feel sick. With your salt tablet, you also do want to make sure that there's not too much sodium in the salt tablet either, because you might be exceeding the recommended amount of sodium and having too much for no reason. Do you have a question or are you stretching?
Oh, I'm stretching.
You're stretching? Alright, so we've covered that, so you need to trial and test your food before you play. Does that make sense? Yeah, so just trial it at your training and then over time you can start to introduce that on game day. Now ultra processed foods like Wallies and juice are great options, okay? So just remember they are game day nutrition foods. Your everyday nutrition, what does that look like? Complex carbs, yep. Eggs, yep, eggs for protein. Bananas are great, fruits and veggies, yep.
Brisket.
Beef brisket.
I don't know, I've never had it, but
Protein. Alright, and what about, can you have ultra processed foods on your everyday nutrition days as well?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, but in moderation, okay? So just remember the overall basis of your diet needs to contain your fruits and veggies, your whole grains, your calcium, so your dairy, your good quality fats, so things like avocados, nuts and seeds, and of course your protein. Your complex carbs, fruits and veggies are all going to contain dietary fibre. And then say in most of your processed foods or your lollies, your sugary cereals and things like that for your game days or before you head to training. So it's really important to make sure that you do have a pre-training snack, utilising what kind of carbohydrates? Simple carbohydrates. Make sure that you always stick to your pre-game day and game day fueling, so your pre-game day and your training fueling guidelines. So remember what that looked like 24 hours before heading into your game. Yeah, so make sure that you're following that. And then before you have a training, so obviously your everyday nutrition while you're at school is going to be normal, but then making sure you're having a carbohydrate snack before you head to your training. And hydration is key, but you want to avoid having large amounts because
It can make you sick.
it might make you feel sick. Yeah, exactly. So avoid having large amounts right before you run onto the field, but sip slowly throughout the day.
What should I have energy in like 3 hours? What if I have a game at like 10?
Yeah.
And I have to eat something at like 6.
So you play at 10 and then you.
I have to wait 4 hours, but I have to eat now. What should I do?
Yeah, so right, so you waking up at 6 and then you play at 10, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you wake up, you have breakfast, like wheat, bix, cereal, milk, toast. Yeah, so you're slow digesting carbohydrates, which are going to sustain your energy levels and keep you feeling full for longer. And then 1 hour before you play, you have
Snack like
simple carbs. Simple carbs.
Simple carbs.
Alright, yeah. So essentially, these are the 2 key things that you need to remember. Pre-training, simple carbs, everyday carbs at every other meal. Yes.
What about like things like caffeine?
Caffeine is a performance supplement. It's probably not something I would recommend for an adolescent's football team though. Save that one for the adults. Alright, does anyone else have any other questions, concerns, or can I explain anything else a little bit more in detail for you? Yes.
I'm supposed to take pictures of weights.
Yeah, so that wheat is when it's not processed, is a complex carbohydrate, and that's going to provide you with dietary fiber. Yes.
Does sleep have anything to do with nutrition?
Sleep? Sleep, it does have everything to do with recovery, but not necessarily nutrition. If you don't have a good night's sleep, you might find that you're a little bit hungrier the next day. But if you're not having adequate sleep, it's going to negatively impact your recovery, and you might not be able to play as well the next time you head onto the field.
How many hours of sleep, like before and after?
Well, for athletes, it's recommended to have 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and that's specifically important for you guys because you're still growing, so you probably even need even more. Yeah, 10 hours would be good. Yeah.
Pancakes we've got a day before the game.
Yeah, pancakes are great, so they're a simple carbohydrate. So if you have pancakes with maple syrup, that's going to give you a lot of those simple carbohydrates for energy. If you're having a pancake on your everyday nutrition day, you just want to make it into a balanced meal. So the way that you'll do that is you'll have your pancakes and your maple syrup, but you might serve it with, say, a Greek yogurt for protein on the side. And then you might also serve it with some peanut butter or some almond butter, which is going to give you some good quality fat. So that way it's going to make it into a balanced meal for everyday nutrition, and then just pancakes and maple syrup pre-game or pre-training. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes.
Question.
Naps. Yeah, if you don't get enough sleep, we call naps sleep extension, and that can actually help you feel a little bit more refreshed and perform a little bit better. Yeah.
What's a good amount of time to sleep?
20 minutes. 8 to 9 hours, maybe.
No, not that.
But you already
8
said
to
sleep
9 hours.
before.
Yes.
Are smoothies and smoothie bowls good for breakfast before games?
So yes, as long as it would be within that 2 to 3 hour mark. So when you make a smoothie bowl, it's usually going to have like some peanut butter or some, maybe some oats or something like that in there. So that's going to increase the fiber and the fat a little bit. But breakfast a couple of hours before the game, fantastic. Just make sure you top up with a few more carbohydrates within that 1 hour beforehand, yes.
What about a side?
Acai is great. That's lots of carbohydrates, but again, it's the same with the smoothie bowl. A little bit more, a little bit higher in dietary fat and fiber. Does anyone else have any questions? Can I go into more detail or anything? Did it all make sense? Yeah. Beautiful. What's that, sorry? So complex carbohydrates sustain energy.
Boys.
And then, yes, slow digesting energy, and then simple carbohydrates is your fast acting energy. Yeah. Does everyone get that? Yes? Hello?
How's yogurt before game?
Yogurt before a game within that 1 hour window, no, because it's just protein. Some yogurts do have a little bit of carbohydrates, a little bit of sugar, depends what kind that you get. But it's not going to be a very large amount, and the dairy might make you feel a little bit sick if you go and run straight away. So leave that one for about 2 to 3 hours before game.
If I have fast food before the
The night before would be fine. Just as long as you're getting adequate carbohydrates. So let's say, for example, you're getting a burger.
Yeah.
It might not be enough carbs because it's just the bun. So you might need to have a glass of orange juice with it, or 2 orange juices as well. Yeah?
Would muesli bars be good?
Muesli bars are good as long as you check the fat content in there. So when mum or dad does the groceries, make sure that they're looking at the muesli bars to make sure it's a high carb, low fat one, not a high fat muesli bar. Because some muesli bars can have about 15-20 grams of fat in them if they have a lot of nuts, and that's going to make you feel a little bit sick as you run onto the gym.
The milk, where is it coming? Is it simple or complicated? Milk.
What was that, sorry?
The milk.